14.
Anybody have answers first? Okay, yours, Sid. 4 is 256 centimeters squared. Connor?
What did you say? 16?
16 was AB squared. Garrett?
What's 19?
19 was 25 feet cubed. Sid. Connor?
Did you ever say the answer to 17?
Good. Well,
There is.
yeah, 2500A. Is that what you have? I didn't give you, I don't know how you could, you wouldn't be able to do it the way it's written there. John, like? 7 is 93 cents. L?
18.
18 is 7.2 times 10 to the 12. Ethan?
Number 8.
8 was 30 students. All right, here we go. Brody, which one?
14.
14. And again, I don't know why you wouldn't take notes on this. You are not allowed to use the pretest as your notes. You take a whole separate piece of paper. Although some of you, I think, maybe you don't need to take notes, which apples need to a certain extent. Problem number 14, ladies and gentlemen. Anytime you see parentheses and you're supposed to simplify, that should signify to you distributive property. And the distributive property is nothing more than doing this. You are taking 3 times both of those, Brody, and getting what's 3 times x?
3x.
And what's 3 times 2? 6. And then you do the same thing with plus 2. 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times 3 is 6. Then, once you get rid of Jan Fair's said parentheses, then you just combine like terms. Like terms have to have the same letters. Same exact letters. I have an x term and I have an x term. I can put those together. I have 3 x's. I can put 2 more x's with it to get 5 x's. I can put my numbers together. 6 plus 6 is 12. Shazam. I was going to do 13 because it's really the same thing. It's just combining like terms. Is there another x term there? There sure is. It's right there. I have 3 x's. I take 1 x away. I'm left with 2 x's. I have 2 y's. I add another y to it. I now have 3 y's. It's not, to me, not super duper complicated, but it's, above 5th grade math. Carolina? Number 1. If I can find number 1. The ratio of in-state to out-of-state visitors at the amusement park was 5 to 2. All right, anytime John Lick hears the word ratio, automatically bells and whistles go off in his head and say, I probably need to draw a ratio box. And since you've been in whatever grade, 6th grade, I remember starting this. This ratio box has what things compared. You've got in-state to out-of-state, and then you have total visitors. Here's my ratio, and here's my actual. How many in-state to out-of-state? 5 in to 2 out for a total. That's a total of 7 total people if you have 5 in and 2 out. I wish my number. If there were 14,000 visitors to the park, is that how many were in-state, out-of-state, or total, Carolina? Total. And then it's just a matter of how do I go from 7 to 14,000? Hopefully you can figure out that that's 2,000. You're multiplying everything times 2,000. How many were from out-of-state? 2 times 2,000 is 4,000. If they would have asked you this, it would have been 10,000. Rocket science, maybe. Sydney. Number 2. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe I gave you the lateral surface area formula. Did I not at some point? You don't really need it, but it's helpful. Lateral surface area, LSA, is the perimeter of the base times the height of the shape. And we talked about this before. If you're painting this building, you don't paint the ceiling and the floor. You are only painting the walls of this building. You can't see the one over there, and you can't see the one over there. You could do it two ways. You could use this formula, or you could just find the area of all four of those and add it together. It's all going to be the same thing. What is the perimeter of this shape? 100 plus 200 plus another 100 plus another 200. 100 plus 200 plus 100 plus 200. 600 is my perimeter. How tall is my shape? It's 20 feet tall. And 600 times 20, 1, 2, 3 zeros. 6 times 2 is 12. 12,000 feet squared. Or you could have done it separately. You could have done 100 times 20, this would be 2,000. You could have done 20 times 200, that would be 4,000. This one over here is the same as the front, another 2,000 and another 4,000. You add those together, you're going to get 12,000. If you didn't get problem number 1 right, or 2 right, you will not get problem number 3 right, because 3 says if each gallon covers 400, if each gallon covers 400 square feet, how many gallons are you going to need? If you have 12,000 and you divide it by 400, you know, you can just do some cross canceling or reducing here. It's the same as 120 divided by 4, which is 30. You could have done it as 400 into 12,000. Just a lot of zeros I don't particularly care for. 400 goes into 1,200 3 times. You get your 30 gallons. Questions on that? The excitement, as they say, pretty much never ends. John Denver.
9.
Number 9. We had a question there before. This one, hopefully you can understand the deal. If you've ever seen a sprinkler, maybe you've seen the sprinkler dance. I couldn't do that before. You have a sprinkler head and it shoots out water. It said it spreads out water 14 feet away from itself. Well, that thing spins in a circle. So you've got a circle with a radius of 14 feet. It asks you for how many square feet. Anytime you're looking for square feet, it is area. And what's the formula for the area of a circle, John Daffenberg?
Pi times radius squared.
Pi times radius times radius. And they tell you, for good reason, to use that for pi. 22 over 7. The radius is 14 over 1 times 14 over 1. And the reason they tell you to do that is because your life becomes very much simpler, because this 7 can cross cancel with one of these 14s and leave you with a 2. And it's just 22 times 2, which is 44, and multiply that by 14. Well, let's put the 44 on the bottom. How about that? Makes life easy. 56, 56, 616, whatever that was, feet squared. How big is 616 feet squared? Bigger or smaller than my classroom?
Smaller.
Smaller. My classroom is 900 square feet, 30 by 30. So it would be about from here to so probably back there, a circle. A, B. That'd be you and about there. Last time I checked, I proved it. That was a long time ago. Number 4, ladies and gentlemen. There's only 3 problems on the front side of that thing. What's going on? What is the area of the quadrilateral? Well, to find the area of this, Anna, you have to cut it into what, 2 shapes? You've got this, which is a rectangle, correct? And to that, you have to add this area, which is a triangle. Let's do the easy stuff first. The area of the rectangle is nothing more than 10 times 16, right? Which is what? 10 times 16, anybody? 160. Area of the triangle, maybe not quite so easy. It's 1/2 base times height. Well, here's the height. The base is what forms the right angle with it. We are not given this dimension, but you can figure it out. You know from here to here is that 10 up there, so this has to be that 12 there. So 1/2 of 12 times 16. Doesn't matter which one you cut in half, it don't make never mind. You could take half of 12 and get 6. 6 times 16 is 96. You add the 96 of the triangle to the 160 of the rectangle, 256 centimeters squared. And we might as well talk about the perimeter of that, ladies and gentlemen. Distance around, I know I've got a 22, this is probably 5, I believe. 16, 10, but I don't know what this is right here. How in the wide, wide proverbial world of sportages am I going to figure that out? Well, it's a right triangle. It's the hypotenuse of a right triangle, which means you should use what? Huh? Right triangles and area and length, side lengths of right triangles, you always think Pythagorean theorem. Is there a triple that has a 1612 in it? There is not. Oh boy, now what am I going to do? Well, before I go jumping off any cliffs or ledges, I try to think if this is an expanded triangle from a smaller one. Can you divide 16 and 12 by something? Yes, you can cut them into quarters. 16 divided by 4 is 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. That makes a 3, 4, what triangle? 5. So is my answer 5 for this side? It is not, because that's the small triangle. You then have to re-expand it, and it would make it what, Sydney? 20, because I cut it, divided by 4 to get to the small, so I have to re-multiply by 4 to get to the big. So there is the 20 that goes along with this, which is where you get 68 centimeters for problem number 5. Guarantee tomorrow's test can have that same problem on there. I don't know why. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but it's solved the same way, CJ.
Can you do number 8?
Who?
8.
El Humro. Is that down here?
Oh, no, I know what I did wrong, actually.
Let's do it anyways.
Okay.
This is a percent. And percents are really nothing more than ratios. Instead of ratio boxes, we just call them percent boxes. We are still comparing something. What are we comparing? We're comparing boys to girls. And we still have total if need be. Instead of ratio, I put my percentages there, and this is my actual. What do I know? Filling in the blanks. 40% are boys. 40 goes here. If I know that, once you know 1%, you know them all, because they have to add up to 100%. That makes the girls 60%. And I know there are 18 girls. I put that in with my girls. I don't know this, I don't know that. But it asks you how many total students in the class, so I want this. It's probably best then to go off to the side and make your equal fractions. 60 over 100 equals 18 over n. And then you go, I don't know how to go from the, should you, what can you do?
Cross product.
Well, you could cross product. Before I do that, I'd see if I could reduce this into something that does work. Divide them both by 10, you get rid of the zeros here. Look, 6 over 10. Look, 6 times what is 18? 3. Guess what 10 times 3 is? 30. The letter N is 30 students. 3 less, or 3 fewer than are in 7th grade. I'm running out of words. Brody!
You do have a 20.
I love 20 with all of my fiber. Brody, did you use some parentheses? Okay, well, then we're off to a great start. 1/2 of A plus B times H. A is 6, so that goes there. B is 8, goes there. H is 4. Order of operations say I have to do what first? Parentheses, says right there, blue top. What do I get if I add 6 and 8 together? 14. I now have this left. Multiply by 4, multiply by 1/2. Doesn't matter the order, it's all multiplication. What is half of 14, John Licht?
7.
And what's 7 times 4, John Licht? 28. Ethan,
What
sir.
number 19?
I love number 19.
I mean, what was?
I'm going to tell you right now, it's 25. Might as well do it while I'm sitting there. It'll take 30 seconds. The volume of a rectangular prism could not be any easier. It is simply length times width times height. They give you the 3 dimensions you need. If you can multiply 5 times 2 1/2 times 2, you can do this problem. People probably get mixed up with this here, but let's do it out as like this. What is 2 1/2 as an improper fraction? 5 halves. A bunch of different ways you can do this. Let's just do it the hardest because it's 5 times 5 is 25 times 2 is 50 all over 2 times 1 times 1. And 50 divided in half is 25. You could have just cross-canceled these 2's. 5 times 5 is 25. But sometimes that confuses people, sometimes it don't. Really does not think so. CJ.
Do the 12.
Over here somewhere. 10. Yeah, I'm glad people ask about this. Ladies and gentlemen, at some point you've got to figure out this whole equation thing. It's very simple. The process and the things are not very difficult. Okay? You just have to remember you want to get x by itself. You want to think opposite. And you want to think about commandment number 8 over there on the commandments that say what you do to one side, do to the other. Do to both. I want x by itself. What do I have to get rid of? I have to get rid of this, and I have to get rid of this 1/2. I could just erase them, and then my x would be myself, but that's not the way this whole thing works. Always, always, always in equations, you get rid of the adding and subtracting stuff first. What is the opposite of adding 1/3?
Subtracting.
So I subtract 1/3. Why? It makes sense, because now 1/3 minus 1/3, there's nothing there. It's gone. But because of commandment number 8, since I subtracted 1/3 on one side, I have to subtract 1/3 on the other. Unfortunately, that doesn't work out so well, but we know how to deal with this because we've learned how to make equal fractions since 6th grade. 3 times 4, 1 times 4, 4 times 3, 3 times 3. 9 twelfths minus 4 twelfths is 5 twelfths. Now what does that still equal? 1/2 x. And for the then what? This might be the 15th or 16th time this year. Anytime you have a fraction in front of a letter, how do you fix it? Thank you. So this becomes 2 times 2 over 1 times 2 over 1. That I do to one side, I do to the other. Goes away. 5 times 2 is 10. 1 times 12 is 12. Reduces 2, 5, 6. That is what your x equals. Might as well do 11 while we're sitting there. It's the same fundamental rules, except it's in decimals, not in fractions. How do I get rid of a subtracting 1.8? What?
Inverse operation.
You do the opposite. You add 1.8. Does a minus 8 1.8 and plus 1.8 go away? If I add 1.8, I get 4.2, and that equals 2x. How do I get rid of a 2 times x? I do the opposite of times, which is divide by 2. Half of 4.2 is 2.1. Half of 4.2 is 2.1. 6. Number 7. First thing I think of when I hear the word tax, Garrett, besides crooked governments, the first thing I hear about when I say taxes, multiplying. This is not a division problem. Tax, you are finding something of. You're finding 7.5% of $12.40. 7.5% of times $12.40. Now the only problem with this is I need to change this from percent form into something usable, which is a decimal. How or what is 7.5 as a decimal? Remember, percent means out of 100. So you are dividing this by 100. When you divide things by 100, you move the decimal 2 places left. This becomes 0.075. And I am multiplying that by $12.40. By the way, you should have somewhat of an idea what tax, 7% tax on $12.40. What's a reasonable amount? I mean, if it comes up to be $50, don't you think that's a bit excessive? You know, it's not going to be, it's going to be a fraction, a part of $12.40. Let's do this. 12.4 times 0.075. 20, carry the 2, 12, 1, 6. 0, 7 times 4, 28. 2, 14, 16, 1, 7, 8. 0, 0, 3, 9. Does $9,300 seem to be a bit excessive for tax? Oh, it is. John, what have I not done?
You not put the decimal.
Where does the decimal go? How many places? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 1 here and 3 there. I come back 4 places. Does 93 cents sound like a reasonable number for tax? Yeah, I think so. Almost $1 out of $8. I guess that's kind of the way things go. I'm getting gassed. And a B.
You need to remember it.
Is that this page or the other page? Next page? Top of this page? Oh, Monica. Why would Monica want to tie a ribbon around the old oak tree? Anybody know the song?
Nope.
Tie a yellow ribbon. They always do that for the troops when the troops are away at war. Kind of a symbolic thing. So, Anna, I am to assume that you drew a 20-inch in diameter circle? So there's our jumping off point. My oak tree has a 20-inch diameter. Not counting the ribbon needed to make a bow, how many inches of ribbon are you needed to reach around the tree? What am I looking for? I am looking for the distance around said tree, which is circumference. Did you have circumference written down? That's the distance around. And that is pi times diameter. It doesn't tell me what to use for pi, so then I probably should use 3.14. The diameter it does tell me is 20. If I multiply 3.14 times 20, I end up with, is my answer 6,280 inches?
No.
No.
Ethan, why not? First of all, because you have to round it, and second of all, because you have to put the decimal.
2 decimal places there. Unfortunately, 62.8, while it's very close, is not the answer because it said to round. The nearest whole inch means your answer is either 62 or 63. Why is it 63?
So we're around.
Because of this 8. After the 2 is an 8. 8 means we move up. And we're moving on up to the deluxe apartment. in the sky. TV shows that? Jefferson. Did you know that, CJ?
What? I was saying that's what I said as a joke.
The Jefferson?
Never mind. Because like, so when my mom says like no one knows it, and then everyone in my family's like, that's what I said. Why didn't you listen to me? Even though no one said that.
So this is an inside Diedrich joke.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, I like it. Caroline Dervis.
Do you remember this guy?
I hope so. Again, 5 should be in my wheelhouse. Is that up here or down here? Oh no, there was only 3 over there, so it's over here. The perimeter of, I already did that one, Carolina. That was this whole thing here. I said 22, 16, 10, find the hypotenuse of that triangle is right here, 68. You weren't there? Were you there when I did it or no? Huh? Wow. Sydney! 18 could possibly be my favorite problem in the, yes, we'll do 17 and 18. And again, this is where notes come in handy for you people because it doesn't get any easier than this. Listen to me carefully. Do not change them into standard form and do the math. Do not make this 1, 2, 0, 0, 0, 0 and multiply it by 6, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. We've never done it that way and it's just confusing to do that way. And maybe, no. Work with scientific notation because the rules are simple. If it's multiplication, which this is, this times this, you multiply the lefts. 6 times 1.2 is 7.2. I'm not going to do the math because I think you can do that. You write down times 10, not dot 10 people, times multiplication sign. And you add the exponents. What is 7 plus 5? 12.
I'm borrowing this
Got you, Mrs. Lewis.
Bluetooth.
It doesn't, I mean, write those 3 simple steps on your notes and do it. I don't know where, tell me if you don't understand what I just did, but to me this is not like something that should, you know. Now, 17, what's going to happen is tomorrow I will tell you what number to put in for the letter A, the other class, because people asked. I said put the number 8 in there. How is that different than multiplication? Well, it's division. It's the opposite. Instead of multiplying these numbers, I divide 4 into 8. I write down my times 10, but instead of adding these numbers together, I do the opposite, which is subtract. 8 minus 4 is 4. Please don't write down 80 million or 800 million and divide it by 4,000. And it's just goofiness. Mathematicians do it this way to keep it simple. Sydney, does there something not make sense of that? 8 divided by 4 is 2. Automatically write down the times 10 like it's there. Subtract exponents. 1, 2, 3. What is going on there?
Five.
Yes, I'm sure. The fourth graders do it.
Oh yeah.
Enormous.
$5 entry fee, you know.
I don't know. You can
Makes
make money
good
out of it.
money.
Other ones. Great.
Number 16.
Not been done yet. 16 maybe would be more helpful for you if you split it apart and just looked at it times, like factored it. A squared means A times A. B cubed means B times B times B. Then you have a C there. That's on top. What's on bottom? A times B times C. And then just like with numbers, same letters on top, cross off 1 for 1 with same letters on bottom. This A can cross off with 1A there. No other A, so that one has to stay. This B can cross off with that B. No other B's to cross off on the bottom. This C crosses off with that C. What are you left with? On top, an A and a B times B, which is B squared. Now, if everything crosses off, we put a 1 there, but when it's on the bottom, it doesn't matter because this is the same as this. If everything tomorrow crosses off on the top, you must keep the 1. You have to keep the 1 if it falls on top. Okay? Because that doesn't matter. Just keep the 1. This time it was on the bottom, you get e squared. What else do we need to go through? Brayden.
Then how did you number
15 is a fantastic one. Order of operations say you have to do what, Brayden? Do I do the subtracting or the multiplying first? Did you multiply first?
Yes.
Did you make them improper? What did you get when you made them improper?
I think the right 8, 6, and 5 thirds.
2 times 3 is 6 plus 2 is 8 thirds. 1 and 1/2 as improper is 1 times 2 plus 1, 3 halves. What do you get if you multiply that out? You get 24 over 6. And what is 24 over 6 reduced to? How many times is 6 going to 24? 4. This whole thing becomes 4. I just have to subtract 3 3/4 from it. Which means I have to borrow because I cannot take 3/4 from nothing. This becomes 3. What fraction equal to 1 do I put over there to match up so I can do easy subtraction, John Lick? We don't know. What fraction does this become? I borrowed 1, I need to make a fraction equal to 1 over there.
4/4.
Thank you. Whatever this bottom number is whatever 2 numbers you end up being. 3/4 from 4/4 is 1/4. 3 minus 3 is nothing. Hence my answer, 1/4. Where were we at here?
Oh, we haven't done 6.
6 is the only one?
I have a question on another one.
Which?
So I'm confused on 16, like what are you saying, like keep it at the bottom?
I said everything crossed off on the bottom. Every time everything crosses off, CJ, you end up with a 1.
1, yeah.
But that would make it AB squared over 1. But 1 under anything is the thing that's on top. So you can leave off the 1 on it. But if everything on top would cross off, you have to keep the 1 on top and put whatever on the bottom.
Oh,
If
okay.
these would have been flip-flop, I would have to keep the 1 that's on top, because that creates a fraction with the 1 up there. This one has a 1 on the bottom, and that doesn't.
Thank you.
And number 6. Oh, that's a good one. Key on number 6 is it says, I guess it doesn't say. Oh, it does say. The word rate. If it says rate, guess what I'm going to draw? A ratio box. In my ratio box, I don't have total things here. I am comparing what? Words to minutes. This is my ratio. This is my actual. What is my ratio? 144 words in 4 minutes. How many words can you type in 10 minutes? So my 10 goes here, and I don't know how many words that is. I then, usually if it doesn't look like something that's really easy, I write it over here in fraction form. 144 over 4 equals what number over 10? Once again, feel free to do the cross products, but I would, before I do that, try to reduce the fraction and see if I can come up with an easier workable thing. Can I reduce 144 over 4?
Yes.
Yes.
Multiple ways. What would be the log? I mean, what would you do, Ethan? Cut them in half. Half of 144? 72. Half of 4 is 2. Can you go from 2 to 10?
Yes.
Yep, multiply by 5. So I then can multiply the top by 5. And 72 times 5 would be 360. 160 words in those 10 minutes. Sydney,
You have to draw the box.
did you get it right? No. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, my way is not the only way, but do not use my way and come up to me and say, I don't understand how to do this. That's fine. You do it however you feel. Be on the record as saying that. I think that's just the most easiest way. That was it, we did each and every one of those 20 problems. Woo.